All right, well, Warren Buffett is not alone. We've got another member here who is wealthy and says that others like him should be taxed more. Joining us now from D.C. is Whitney Tilson and his assistant, Kelly Aliris, who has a higher tax rate than the boss. Whitney is managing partner of T2 Partners, well known to CNBC viewers. Whitney, I understand that you heard our previous conversation with Rick,
Yes.
Probably none too pleased. What is your beef with the conversation? The numbers were spot on.
Yes, they were. There are two problems with it, to the point that that I should just write a check. I'm not interested in paying any more taxes in a vacuum. What needs to happen here is there needs to be a comprehensive budget deal with $2.50 of spending cuts for every dollar of revenue increases. But there have to be increases. There is no sane, honest person on the planet, and I realize I've just excluded most of Congress with that comment, who believes that we can balance, so we can get our deficits back under control without some revenue increases. So taxes are going to have to go up, and they're not going to have to go up on tens of millions of people. But somebody's got to go first. Well, who should go first, and who should do not only their fair share, but maybe a little more than their fair share? And my argument would be the very wealthiest people on the planet, and I'm lucky enough to be part of that group. Agreed. Need to go first and set the tone for the rest of what has to happen here. So that gets to the second point that you made, which is, well, gee, even if the Buffett rule goes through, that's only $47 billion. In the context of our long-term deficit, that doesn't sound like very much. But I don't know what planet you live on, but where I live, $47 billion is real money. And if we, the wealthiest people in the country, don't come up with that $47 billion, that means 47 million other average Americans are going to have to come up with an extra $1,000 each. And that's for people who are still trying to recover from this economic downturn. That's real money.
Whitney, I agree with you 100%, and I'm not saying 47 billion or whatever the number might be isn't something. It certainly is a start. But you're a numbers guy. You know the numbers. The point I was making with that was that we're talking about 1 week of spending. It's become a political issue, and the president paints it almost as we can solve a lot of our problems. We're not going to be able to solve hardly any of our problems. Mike Bloomberg had an amazing op-ed in the Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago. Mike came from very humble beginnings. Yeah, he's a billionaire now, but he said everybody is going to have to pay more because we've got what he called the false promise of something for nothing.
Right. Well, look, I talked to the president today, and I listened to his comments today, and he emphatically said this isn't enough by itself. Not even a meaningful small amount, but 47 billion is a first step. And look, I think the problem is everybody is sitting on the sidelines waiting for somebody else first. Well, somebody's got to go first and show some courage here and demonstrate some shared sacrifice. And who better to demonstrate shared sacrifice than the very wealthiest people in this country, who right now are paying the lowest tax rates we've ever paid?
Whitney, I wanted to ask Kelly while she's standing there with you. Kelly, what's your tax rate?
I'm taxed 30 cent. I'm taxed 30 cent.
33.4%.
Sorry, yeah, 33.4% tax rate.
Yeah, but that's your headline rate. Your effective tax rate's probably somewhere around 15% after deductions, I'm guessing.
No. This includes payroll taxes, of course, but using an apples-to-apples comparison, we went back and we compared our 2010 tax returns. We don't have our 2011 done yet. What we discovered is two things. My adjusted gross income in that year was 39 times higher than Kelly's. Yet she paid a 36% higher effective tax rate. She was a little above 33%. I was a little below 25%. Now, raise your hand if you think that makes any sense, that the guy who's making 39 times more money is paying a much lower tax rate.
Kelly, do you feel comfortable being part of this conversation, being basically part of a political story?
Absolutely. It's actually, talking to Whitney the past couple of days, I really didn't know the numbers at this point. And so it's enlightened me having this conversation, being here at the White House, and it's been very great.
Kelly's been having fun. And by the way, let me point something out here. Like, Kelly doesn't resent, and we've talked about this, as we looked at these numbers, we were both sort of aghast. We were shocked. I was shocked. But Kelly doesn't resent the fact that I built a successful business and I've done very well and I've been very fortunate, right? But she admits to having the feeling that, you know, when she said, gee, you're making that much more than me, yet I'm paying a higher tax rate, like it made her sort of, she didn't,
Kelly, how did that make you feel? Kelly, how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
Make me feel, like he was saying, I didn't feel resentment. What did cross my mind is my own family, and actually, for me, as a young single woman in New York, I want to be able to retire comfortably. So having this tax rate, the Buffett tax rate for millionaires would maybe decrease my taxes, and that would make me feel a little bit better about my future.
You know, Whitney, I got to ask you a couple of things here. And, you know, I respect you. I respect Warren Buffett. I mean, you guys are much more successful than I am. But you could pay yourself an ordinary income.
So you're saying we could just voluntarily write a bigger check?
I'm not saying you need to voluntarily write a larger check. I'm saying that people who are smart about their taxes, right, they will take what the government offers them the same way that 47 million households do who pay no net federal income tax after deductions.
Yeah. That's, by the way, a very, very clever statement, because at least you're clarifying what you're talking about, because this is a grand myth out there that 47 million people pay no taxes. That's what you read about in the papers.
No, I always use the term net federal.
Net, because
they pay payroll, they pay sales, they pay state. I get it. Both my parents do taxes for a living. So.
Right, because it turns out that payroll taxes are nearly 50% of Kelly's federal taxes, and they're less than half of 1% of my federal taxes. So it's real important to understand how regressive that payroll tax is and how much more it affects middle-income people. So the point here, though, is neither Warren Buffett nor I are interested in just paying more taxes, nor, by the way, do we, you know, is there anything wrong with people paying the taxes that they are legally required to and trying to take advantage of deductions, et cetera? It's not, the problem is not Mitt Romney or me or our behavior. We're just paying what we're supposed to. The problem is the crazy tax code that's taxing the very, very, very wealthiest people in the world at a substantially lower rate than average working people who are not doing nearly as well.
But I got to leave it here, but I know you know the numbers as well. The tax rate, the net effective tax rate for the median income household has actually declined dramatically over the last 30 years. And I like what you said at the very top when you mentioned millions of more are going to have to pay. Somebody has to start. You agree that in the end, taxes are going to have to go up on everybody unless spending is cut dramatically, because the numbers will never, ever, ever add up at the current rate of spending and revenue.
By the way, I would tend to agree, though I would not say everybody. It may not be the very poorest people in this country. I don't think necessarily have to pay much more. And by the way, I agree there probably have to be $2 or $3 of spending cuts for every dollar revenue increases. So I think we're on the same page. But I want a comprehensive deal, and so I'm speaking out because I think the Buffett rule has to be part of any comprehensive deal.
Whitney, Tilson, Kelly, thank you both very much. I appreciate a little feisty conversation, but I know you're putting yourself out there, and we do appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
All righty.
All right, wow.